Welcome to Quest Advanced English. Join me in today's exciting video as we dive into a fascinating discussion featuring two of Ethiopia's most prominent voices in media and politics, an interviewer, the remarkable founder and editor-in-chief of Addis Standard, and Jawar Mohammed, a renowned political analyst and activist. In this analysis, I've incorporated complex words, idiomatic expressions, and a detailed breakdown of the political and social topics they explored. At the end, we will explore the major weaknesses observed during the interview. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more insightful content. Let's get started. Vocabulary Mastery. Welcome to the Vocabulary Mastery segment of Quest Advanced English. Here, we'll explore powerful words from the discussion with Jawar Mohammed, helping you master advanced English while analyzing complex political and social topics. Let's dive in and enrich your vocabulary. 1. Memoir.
With a book that a memoir he authored and is preparing to launch and also having a book tour, I understand.
A personal account or narrative focusing on specific events or experiences in an individual's life. Similar expressions: autobiography, personal narrative, life story. Example: Nelson Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom is a memoir detailing his journey through apartheid and his fight for justice in South Africa. 2. Photographic memory.
I could not help but appreciate the photographic memory that you displayed in the part 1 of this book.
The ability to recall images, sounds, or information with exceptional precision. Similar expressions: eidetic memory, exceptional recall, vivid recollection. Example: theoretical physicist Nikola Tesla was said to have a photographic memory, which contributed to his innovative ideas and inventions. 3. Formative age.
The socio-economic political situation during our formative age really has significant impact.
A period in a person's early life that significantly shapes their development and character. Similar expressions: developmental years, early childhood, growth stage. Example: Steve Jobs' formative age was influenced by his fascination with electronics and design while working in his father's garage. 4. Mobilization.
The discussions that you had there indicate towards a collective mobilization of the youth.
The act of organizing people or resources for a specific purpose, often in political or military contexts. Similar expressions: activation, deployment, rallying. Example: during World War II, the U.S. government mobilized millions of citizens and resources to support the war effort. 5. Contemporary.
Create interpersonal bond as well as discuss contemporary political and social affairs.
Belonging to or occurring in the present time. Similar expressions: modern, current, present day. Example: contemporary art often reflects current social issues, as seen in the works of Banksy addressing topics like war and inequality. 6. Diversity.
With the aim of breaking boundaries, with the aim of managing diversity towards a better future.
The presence of varied characteristics, ideas, or cultures within a group or environment. Similar expressions: variety, multiplicity, heterogeneity. Example: the United Nations celebrates cultural diversity through initiatives like International Mother Language Day, promoting linguistic and cultural heritage worldwide. 7. Polarization.
And I look at the polarization between different national groups there. And I believe, you can correct me.
The division of a group or society into contrasting and often conflicting factions. Similar expressions: division, segmentation, dichotomy. Example: political polarization in the U.S. has intensified over recent decades, with stark divisions between Republican and Democratic ideologies. 8. Regret.
Do you regret? Do you see that has unraveled 10 years down?
A feeling of sadness or disappointment about something that has happened or been done. Similar expressions: remorse, sorrow, repentance. Example: Former President Jimmy Carter expressed regret over the failed rescue attempt during the Iran hostage crisis, acknowledging its impact on his administration. 9. Unravel. To untangle or solve a complex issue or situation. Similar expressions: disentangle, resolve, clarify. Example: investigators worked tirelessly to unravel the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle, offering scientific explanations for its strange occurrences. 10. Fragmentation.
Do we have a little bit of fragmentation now? Yeah, because of the political process. It goes for cycle.
The process of breaking or splitting into smaller, disconnected parts. Similar expressions: disintegration, division, segmentation. Example: the fragmentation of Yugoslavia in the 1990s led to the creation of several independent nations, accompanied by intense conflicts. 11. Protest.
In the Oromo protests that we have seen, for example, the hand-crossing signs that became popular during the Oromo protests started in the Muslim movement at that time.
An organized demonstration expressing opposition to something. Similar expressions: rally, demonstration, dissent. Example: the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020 drew global attention to issues of racial injustice and police brutality. 13. Nationalism.
You knew the nationalism. You grew up in the Oromo nationalism sphere. Your contacts with OLF, the Oromo Liberation Front fighters, and all political activities. You knew that.
A strong sense of pride and loyalty towards one's country or nation, often emphasizing national identity and sovereignty. Similar expressions: patriotism, national pride, loyalty. Example: nationalism surged in India during its struggle for independence from British rule, with leaders like Mahatma Gandhi advocating for self-determination and unity. 14. Religious repression.
But you didn't know about religious repression in the Ethiopian body politic, in the Ethiopian context.
The suppression or restriction of religious beliefs or practices by a government or dominant group. Similar expressions: religious persecution, religious intolerance, belief suppression. Example: during the Soviet Union's rule, religious repression was widespread, with the government discouraging religious practices and persecuting religious leaders. 15. Nonviolent resistance.
Non-violent resistance, resistance against authoritarian regime.
A form of protest or opposition that seeks to achieve political or social change without resorting to violence. Similar expressions: peaceful protest, civil disobedience, passive resistance. Example: Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolent resistance inspired civil rights movements worldwide, including the American Civil Rights Movement led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. 16. Radicalize.
Regime was to radicalize the youth so that they can justify further crackdown, and that will come and it will have multifaceted impact on the Oromo movement.
To cause someone to adopt extreme or revolutionary views, often through persuasion or exposure to certain ideas. Similar expressions: extremize, provoke, inflame. Example: the internet has been criticized for its potential to radicalize individuals by exposing them to extremist ideologies and online communities. 17. Multifaceted.
Can justify further crackdown, and that will come and it will have multifaceted impact on the Oromo movement. So I wanted to make sure it doesn't go off rail.
Having many different aspects or components. Similar expressions: complex, diverse, intricate. Example: the multifaceted approach to climate change includes policy changes, scientific research, and grassroots activism to address environmental challenges. 18. Solidarity.
We were sending young people to go, not only show solidarity, as way of, they used to go with big cross and show that solidarity, but also gain experience.
Unity or agreement of feeling or action, especially among individuals with a common interest. Similar expressions: unity, support, togetherness. Example: during the 2011 Egyptian Revolution, millions of citizens demonstrated solidarity, demanding the resignation of President Hosni Mubarak. 19. Established narrative.
I think I was also flowing with the established narrative that I am Oromo First when you said on Al Jazeera 2013, May 2013 or so.
The widely accepted or dominant story or perspective on a particular event or issue. Similar expressions: conventional wisdom, prevailing story, accepted viewpoint. Example: the established narrative about Christopher Columbus has been challenged in recent years, with a growing recognition of his negative impact on indigenous populations. 20. Secessionist politics.
I quote you here, as many understood it as a radical or secessionist politics. Oromo First was a transition from the narrative that was before, or from the slogan that was before, Oromia shall be free.
Political movements or ideologies advocating for the separation of a region or group from a larger political entity or nation. Similar expressions: separatism, autonomy movement, independence campaign. Example: the Catalan independence movement in Spain is an example of secessionist politics, with proponents seeking to establish Catalonia as an independent state. 21. Subjugation.
As if Oromos should feel guilty about rising against subjugation.
The act of bringing someone or a group under control or dominance, often through force or oppression. Similar expressions: domination, oppression, enslavement. Example: the subjugation of African peoples during the transatlantic slave trade left lasting scars on the continent and its diaspora. 22. Inclusive.
Ethiopian state, by reforming the Ethiopian state so that it become inclusive and democratic, that can advance the rights of Oromos and others.
Characterized by a willingness to accept and incorporate diverse perspectives, backgrounds, or people. Similar expressions: open-minded, welcoming, all-encompassing. Example: the United Nations promotes inclusive development by encouraging equal access to opportunities for all nations, regardless of their size or wealth. 23. Backlash.
He just retreated back because the backlash was so severe.
Did you pick it up from him? Like, is it a continuation of what meant or could not mean?
A strong negative reaction to an event or trend, often characterized by opposition or resistance. Similar expressions: counterreaction, retaliation, opposition. Example: the backlash against the #MeToo movement in some conservative circles reflects a resistance to changing societal attitudes towards sexual harassment and assault. 24. Eviscerating.
Eviscerating the oil for its failure to deliver after 40 years.
Severely damaging or destroying the essential parts of something, often leaving it hollow or ineffective. Similar expressions: devastating, annihilating, dismantling. Example: the eviscerating effects of the financial crisis in 2008 left many families struggling with foreclosure and unemployment. 25. Self-liberating.
Absolutely, it was a self-liberating from the shadow of my parent, basically.
The process of freeing oneself from oppression, limitation, or constraints, often through personal or collective effort. Similar expressions: self-emancipating, self-empowering, self-deliverance. Example: the abolition of slavery in the United States was a moment of self-liberating action for millions of African Americans, culminating in the end of legal enslavement. 26. Disillusion.
And by 2012, oil was split even into more factions. There was paralysis, there is disillusion, there is desperation.
The feeling of disappointment or loss of belief, typically after realizing something is not as good as previously thought. Similar expressions: disenchantment, letdown, loss of hope. Example: after years of supporting a political party, many voters experience disillusion when their leaders failed to fulfill campaign promises. 27. Constituency.
I've already developed an audience. I've already developed a constituency. I've already shared the constituency from my left, so I was able to...
A body of voters or supporters that a political representative or leader serves or represents. Similar expressions: electorate, supporters, voting base. Example: Barack Obama's constituency in Chicago consisted of diverse urban voters who supported his vision of hope and change. 28. Antagonistic.
And we remained antagonistic till probably now, but I was able to before that, organizations like OLF, they're very, very powerful.
Showing hostility or opposition, often creating conflict. Similar expressions: hostile, oppositional, confrontational. Example: the antagonistic relationship between the United States and Russia during the Cold War led to widespread geopolitical tensions and nuclear arms competition. 29. Formidable resistance.
The Oromia conflict, because that is now what has morphed into this formidable resistance against the state and the government.
Strong and determined opposition that proves difficult to overcome. Similar expressions: tough opposition, stiff resistance, intense defiance. Example: the formidable resistance faced by the Allied forces from Nazi Germany during World War II is considered one of the most challenging military confrontations in history. 30. Co-opted.
Trying to tell itself and tell the world that it could be co-opted through the same process that we have seen now with Jalsani versus Shimelis, the president of Oromia region.
To take control or make use of something or someone, often for one's own purposes. Similar expressions: appropriated, absorbed, manipulated. Example: environmental movements have been co-opted by corporations, with companies adopting green branding to appeal to environmentally conscious consumers. 31. Demobilization.
27 pages of roadmap on demobilization, disarmament, and other political disagreements and all this.
The process of disbanding or reducing the activity of military forces or resistance movements. Similar expressions: deactivation, disbandment, downsizing. Example: following the peace agreements in Colombia, the demobilization of guerrilla groups like FARC was a key step toward ending decades of civil conflict. 32. Disarmament.
Demobilization, disarmament, and other political disagreements and all this. How did we fail?
The reduction or elimination of a country's military forces or weapons, often in the interest of peace. Similar expressions: weapon reduction, arms control, demilitarization. Example: the 1993 Chemical Weapons Convention was a major international step in disarmament, aiming to eliminate chemical weapons worldwide. 33. A low-level insurgency.
They learned the wrong lesson from their parent organization, the TPLF, i.e. their godfather, Mallas, which was he always wanted to have low-level insurgency as a way of justifying crackdown on opposition.
An insurgency that involves relatively small-scale resistance or rebellion, often focused on guerrilla tactics and localized actions. Similar expressions: minor rebellion, small-scale revolt, insurgent activity. Example: the insurgency in northern Iraq by Kurdish militants is often described as a low-level insurgency, with sporadic attacks against local authorities. 34. Crackdown.
Low-level insurgency as a way of justifying crackdown on opposition.
A severe or forceful action taken by authorities to suppress or control illegal or undesirable activities. Similar expressions: suppression, clampdown, enforcement. Example: the Chinese government's crackdown on pro-democracy protests in Tiananmen Square in 1989 is remembered as one of the most violent responses to civil unrest. 35. Assassination.
Is the assassination of Hachalu Hundessa. At some point you discuss about that in your book.
The deliberate killing of a prominent person, typically for political or ideological reasons. Similar expressions: murder, killing, execution. Example: the assassination of former Pakistani Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto in 2007 shocked the world and led to political instability in the region. 36. Political tension.
Evolving, there is political tension building, there is competition, there is...
The state of heightened conflict or disagreement between individuals, groups, or nations, often due to political differences. Similar expressions: political strain, ideological conflict, political discord. Example: political tension between North and South Korea has persisted for decades, with frequent military standoffs and verbal confrontations. 37. Iconic figure.
And the killing of an iconic figure just blew the lid off.
A person who is widely recognized and celebrated for their impact or significance in a particular field or culture. Similar expressions: legendary figure, notable person, cultural icon. Example: Martin Luther King Jr. became an iconic figure in the civil rights movement, inspiring countless individuals with his message of equality and nonviolence. 38. Personification.
This singer was, the icon. He was the personification of the ghetto. It was the personification of where Oromo was,
The attribution of human characteristics or qualities to non-human entities or abstract concepts. Similar expressions: embodiment, representation, symbolization. Example: in literature, George Orwell's Animal Farm uses personification to give farm animals human-like qualities, reflecting the nature of totalitarian regimes. 39. Collective trauma.
Others, I think they have extreme difficulty. And because it was the collective trauma, if you saw the days after the killing, and even after that.
A shared emotional or psychological injury experienced by a group of people, often due to a traumatic event or series of events. Similar expressions: shared grief, collective suffering, group trauma. Example: the collective trauma of World War II continues to shape European and Asian societies, influencing attitudes toward war and peace. 40. Far-reaching.
Deeply wounded. That had far-reaching consequences for the country.
Having significant or widespread consequences or effects. Similar expressions: extensive, profound, sweeping. Example: the far-reaching impact of the internet has transformed nearly every aspect of modern life, from communication to commerce. 41. Reactionary force.
Clearly allied with the reactionary forces there, who have actually thanked him for the crackdown in Oromia.
A political or social force that opposes change or seeks to revert to previous, often more traditional or conservative, systems. Similar expressions: conservative movement, regressive force, counter-revolutionary. Example: the reactionary forces in France during the revolution sought to maintain the monarchy and resist the ideals of liberty and equality. 42. Alliance formation.
Clearly defined alliance formation in the political sphere there. The prime minister moved completely, totally to the right, and then that has given an impetus and a speed to the outbreak of the war. This is my analysis of it.
The process of creating partnerships or alliances, often for mutual benefit, security, or political advantage. Similar expressions: coalition building, partnership formation, strategic alliance. Example: the formation of NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, after World War II was a strategic alliance aimed at ensuring mutual defense against the Soviet Union. 43. Conclusive evidence.
But I don't have conclusive evidence to pinpoint. What I can tell you is, during those few days, there was active effort by the authorities.
Proof or information that decisively supports a conclusion or belief, leaving no room for doubt. Similar expressions: definitive proof, irrefutable evidence, undeniable facts. Example: the release of conclusive evidence in the trial of a criminal often leads to a swift conviction, ensuring justice is served. 44. Impunity.
What the government's refusal to allow independent fact-finding on these killings has deepened the culture of impunity.
Exemption from punishment or loss for wrongdoing, typically in the context of legal or political systems. Similar expressions: exemption from punishment, lack of accountability, immunity. Example: the impunity with which political leaders engage in corruption often undermines trust in government institutions and the rule of law. Idiomatic expressions. In this section, we'll break down key idiomatic expressions from the interview, highlighting how they capture complex political and social dynamics. Each expression will be defined concisely with a real-world example for better understanding. Let's dive in. 1. Stroke of luck.
About a book that he is just about to launch.
So by a stroke of luck, I happened to be in the same location where he is now in Nairobi, and
A sudden, unexpected piece of good fortune. Example, winning the lottery was a real stroke of luck for him. 2. Back and forth.
We go back and forth in that conversation. Having said that, I like to say welcome to the interview. And this is the first time I'm sitting with you, Jawar. And thank you, after a lot of back and forth, for having the time to sit with me here.
A repetitive or continuous movement or exchange between two sides. Example, the debate went back and forth for hours without reaching a conclusion. 3. Sharpened one's political thoughts.
Of course, I sharpened my political thoughts in schools and in activism. But in prison, sitting and reflecting, I couldn't escape the fact that
Refined or deepened one's understanding and perspective on political issues. Example, reading works by revolutionary leaders sharpened my political thoughts and awareness. 4. Beaten with a political poison.
I was beaten with a political poison when I was a kid. And I wanted to see what made me,
Corrupted or negatively influenced by harmful political ideologies or practices. Example, after years in the corrupt system, he felt beaten with a political poison that changed his values. 5. Seed of the movement.
Whether that was the seed when during the Oromo protest, whether you used any of those experiences to be able to see the Oromo movement, for example, of
the initial idea or action that begins a larger movement. Example, the protest over local wages was the seed of the movement for labor rights. 6. Tree grows, some branches might dry.
something you plant seed. The tree grows, some of the branches might dry, some of them may fall out. But as long as the stem is there, the tree will be there.
Progress comes with challenges or sacrifices along the way. Example, in building the company, I learned that while the tree grows, some branches might dry. 7. Spark of the match.
The Duke, Ferdinand. But that was the spark, right? At the match.
A small action or event that triggers a larger reaction or conflict. Example, the unjust arrest was the spark of the match that ignited widespread protests. 8. Room filled with gas.
At the match, but the room was filled with gas. Europe prior to that was evolving. There is political tension building. There is
a tense or volatile situation waiting for a triggering event. Example, the political climate felt like a room filled with gas, ready to explode at any moment. 9. Pulled left and right.
what most of it happened while you were in prison, and at one point you commented that it was a good thing you were in prison because otherwise the madness that was outside of the prison would have pulled you left and right.
Being torn between opposing views or forces. Example, the politician was pulled left and right by competing demands from different groups. 10. Hamster on a wheel.
That I have it in good authority was also already dealing with the government since a year and a half. And so we're back to the same, it's like a hamster on...
The reason we are back to it is because...
Engaged in endless, repetitive activity with no progress. Example, I felt like a hamster on a wheel, working hard but never moving forward in my career. 11. Blew the lid off.
It's already ripe to explode, and the killing just blew the lid off.
Exposed a shocking secret or truth. Example, the investigative report blew the lid off the corruption in the government. 12. Turned into monsters.
Liberal friends, people who used to advise me to moderate my tone, turned into monsters.
Transformed into something harmful or destructive. Example, power and greed turned the once kind leaders into monsters. 13. Radical shift.
Radical departure in terms of framing the Oromo questions. And I think I was also...
A significant and dramatic change. Example, the company's decision to go fully remote was a radical shift in its operations. 14. breaking boundaries.
Contemporary political and social affairs, with the aim of breaking boundaries, with the aim of managing diversity towards a better future.
Overcoming limits or restrictions. Example, her innovative ideas were breaking boundaries in the tech industry. 15. Turning around the dynamics.
I had 360 turnaround into the dynamics that's happening. I think
Changing the direction or balance of a situation. Example, the team's new strategy succeeded in turning around the dynamics of the competition. 16. No regrets.
Assertiveness of no. Part of no. Basically, Oromo First is really a no regret. We don't regret for fighting against injustice that particularly targeted us.
Complete acceptance of one's choices without remorse. Example, despite the challenges, he said he had no regrets about following his dreams. 17. Fuel for action.
Utilize nationalism. I studied I see nationalism as a tool, as a resource, as a fuel for social mobilization. You cannot mobilize people if you don't have some fuel with it.
Something that motivates or drives collective efforts. Example, the community's shared anger over injustice became the fuel for action and social mobilization. Socio-political topic covered. The interview explored a variety of compelling topics, beginning with Jawar Mohammed's memoir, which offered vivid recollections of his childhood and the socio-political environment that shaped his identity and political outlook. It delved into his efforts in organizing youth leadership conferences, which became pivotal in fostering collective mobilization and inspiring the Oromo protests from 2014 to 2018. The conversation highlighted the importance of managing diversity, fostering tolerance, and leveraging nationalism as tools for social cohesion and mobilization. It also examined the evolution of the Oromo First narrative and its impact on framing Oromo political aspirations within Ethiopia's state framework. Key events, such as the assassination of the iconic Ethiopian singer and its profound effect on Oromo politics, as well as the dynamics of the Tigray War and the challenges of achieving a comprehensive peace agreement, were thoughtfully discussed. The interview was packed with numerous practical and social insights, offering a rich understanding of the complexities of Ethiopia's socio-political landscape. Weaknesses observed. The discussion between the interviewer and Jawar Mohammed demonstrated an exemplary command of language, with both individuals showcasing advanced vocabulary, nuanced expressions, and effective rhetorical techniques. Their ability to articulate complex ideas and engage in meaningful dialogue highlighted their rich experiences and intellectual depth, making the conversation a valuable resource for those studying or analyzing advanced English. However, it is worth noting that the video and audio quality occasionally pose challenges, with some parts of the conversation being inaudible. These technical issues, while minor, could benefit from correction to ensure a smoother viewing experience. Despite these occasional interruptions, the substance and quality of the discussion remained impactful and engaging. Thank you for watching this analysis on the interview with Jawar Mohammed. This video is an essential resource for learners aiming to expand their vocabulary and grasp advanced English expressions. We've explored a wide array of complex words and idiomatic phrases that will help you better understand both language and the socio-political issues discussed. Please remember, this analysis is solely focused on the language aspect of the interview, so if you're interested in the full conversation and its insightful discussions, be sure to check the links in the description below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Quest Advanced English for more enriching content. Your feedback is invaluable, so if you have any comments or suggestions for improvement, please let us know. Together, we can continue to enhance our future content. Thanks again, and see you in the next video.